Hello and welcome back. So in this video, we are going to discuss a little bit more about folder structure. Alright, so throughout the entire program, you're going to be working on multiple websites and multiple projects. Not only in the program, but once you graduate and when you're actually working with a company, you're also going to be working with different types of projects. Sometimes you have to start some projects on your own. Sometimes you're going to be involved in earlier projects. So now, in this video, we're going to discuss how to properly organize your folders and how to properly organize your website structure. Now, this is a very important video, so do not skip it. All right, let's get started. So, remember in the earlier videos, we talked about the number one primary thing that we need when we are creating a website is the index.html. Do you remember that or not? The index.html is the main file for our website. So consider a house, right? So for every single house, you have a main door, right? So if you consider a website as a house, the main door is the index.html. Now, without a main door, you won't be able to get into a house, right? So just like that, without an index.html, you won't be able to get into a website. Now, let's quickly jump into the system. Now I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code. Then what I'm also going to do is on the desktop, I'm going to create a new folder. Okay. I'm going to say this folder name is website. All right. So we have a folder called as website. So now in the website folder, let me quickly open it up. I'm going to say open folder. I can go to desktop and website, select folder. Okay. Perfect. So once you create a folder and once you open it with Visual Studio Code, this is how it's going to look. Now, the primary thing that you have to notice or the primary thing that you have to make a note of is whenever you're creating a new website, always create a new folder. The reason is whatever files that you need for that website, let's say the images, let's say the HTML documents, or let's say the CSS files or whatever you're going to include, all of them are going to contain in that one single folder. For example, in this particular folder called as website, we're going to have our primary main door, which is index.html. All right. So I'm going to have a simple template. Oops. All right. So in the body, I'm going to say this is a website and index.html is the main door for the website. Okay, so now we have a website all ready, right? So we have our index.html. Now let's say we want to add even more files. But before we do that, let me just quickly go back to my desktop and open the website folder. So if I open the website folder, you can see that there is one single file called as index. And if you see on the right side, we have type called as HTML document. Okay, so if you're unable to see this sort of file structure, simply click on view and click on details. Okay, type is Firefox HTML document, basically a HTML document. If you're using Google Chrome, it might show up as HTML document. Don't worry about it. Okay, so opening up the Visual Studio Code again. Now I'm going to create another HTML document. Okay, that is going to be called as second page.html. Okay, so now we have one single website and we have two HTML documents. Now, if this sounds a bit complex, don't worry at all. This is all these concepts are something that we're going to discuss as we go on. But this is sort of an example on how you have to structure your projects and how you have to maintain your folders. Okay, so let's say we have these two pages and even this one has a HTML document and we're going to say this is the second page in the same website. All right. So in the same website, we have two different pages. And once again, if I open my folder, we have second page. Now we're creating all our files through the Visual Studio Code. I can say new file and create a new file as you have seen. Okay, so this is how you create one particular website. Now, if you want to host this website onto a URL, this entire folder is something that you're going to send. Okay, now that is one thing. Second thing is, let's say we got another requirement that, hey, we have to create another website. Now this website is sort of like, to list off like the favorite movies or something. Now how do we start off? We simply are going to go to the desktop, right click, new folder, then we're going to give the folder a name. Basically this is sort of like, the name of the website. Okay, then we're going to quickly run back into Visual Studio Code, come here, click on file, click on open folder. Okay, and once again go to desktop and we can say where's our movies, there's our movies, and select folder. Once again we're going to get the blank Visual Studio Code. All right, this sounds pretty simple, right? Now another thing that you should not do, right, is let's say you're creating a new website and you have not decided the name for that website yet. Sometimes some people, they usually name the folder as index.html. You should never do that. Do not name your folders index.html. Now the reason why I'm saying this is because if you open Visual Studio Code, let me create a folder, let me create a file, let's say index.html. Okay, then on the right side we have something called as new folder. In this I'm going to say documents. Okay, so in the folder called as movies, we have an index.html file along with a documents folder. Now you notice a difference between a folder and a file. A folder is a collection of files, whereas a file is a document or a piece of digital media that contains information. All right, so these files have dot extensions, .html, which means it's a HTML document. Now if I say style.css, it's a .css file, right? Let's say when we're installing softwares, we usually get .exe files, which means executable, right? So dot and whatever is after the dot basically means the type of file it is. Now you cannot name your folder index.html because the type of that folder is sort of like a folder. It's not a .html document. If you want to create a HTML document, simply open the folder in Visual Studio Code and then create a index.html. Okay, perfect. Now another problem that you're going to face if you're going to name your folders index.html is sort of like when you're actually deploying it to the internet and when you're sharing it with your friends, the website might not render properly. Okay, so quickly let's recap whatever we discussed. The first point is, whenever you're creating a new project or whenever you're creating a new website, always create a separate folder. In that folder, every single website needs to have an index.html. Okay, that is an absolute must. The third thing is, do not name your folders index.html. All right, 3 simple points to cover. Perfect. So going forward, make sure you follow these points, and whenever you have any questions, you know how to approach us. And awesome. So I'll see you in the next video.